The Barbie movie is for kids, but it's also not for kids. The Barbie movie is too basic. It's just feminism 101. The Barbie movie is teaching our kids to be gay and needs to be banned. Barbie only exists to sell toys. Barbie is about existentialism. Barbie is going to bring back practical effects and real cinema. Barbie was only made to create the Mattel cinematic universe, and Barbie is a colonizer. Hey guys, welcome back to this channel, Slightly Scripted, where I talk about what's online, what's in the news, and what's in my head. And today we're going to be talking about how Barbie Discourse is exhausting. So those are most of the Barbie takes that I've seen online since the movie came out, and I want to go through them as someone who still hasn't seen the movie, because honestly, the internet has turned me off to wanting to watch Barbie altogether. And I just want to know, am I alone in that? The discourse is so exhausting that I don't even really feel like watching or engaging with the film anymore. And I think that's a bad thing. But in all, I'm just really Barbie fatigued and nostalgia fatigued, but we'll get to that soon. So first, let's talk about the Barbie discourse points. And the first point is that the film is for girls, and that's why the feminism in the movie is so basic. And the responses I see to this take are, firstly, it's a great thing that this movie can introduce women and especially little girls to the basic concepts of feminism and the patriarchy. And the second response I see to this is that the movie isn't for kids, it's for adult women, and the feminism I expected from the movie was different than what was shown. And honestly, I do feel conflicted about this point because I saw the marketing for this movie and I didn't expect it to be for children. I expected it to be for teens and young adults, maybe 15 years and up, and I don't get parents who brought their 5-year-olds to see this movie, but maybe that's just me. And though I do think it's awesome that elementary kids are being exposed to concepts like feminism, I still don't get what the parents who brought their kids to this movie thought it was going to be about. I mean, I'm sure some of the parents brought their kids and were let's get political, but I do think most of them genuinely thought that because the film was about a toy, it was automatically for children. And though I think it's funny that a movie they thought was going to be a simple romp with Barbie and Ken turned into a film about the basic tenets of feminism, I also think that it might have gone over a lot of people's heads. Or maybe they didn't care about the message because all they wanted was to take an Instagram story and photo that they were in the theater, and in all, it just came down to optics and aesthetics. I knew a lot of adult women who went to see this movie and were expecting it to be for children. Lol, look at me, I'm a grown woman going to see the Barbie movie, look at how quirky and unique I am, look at how childish I am, when it's this movie is made for adult women. And this just makes me wonder, is this media literacy or just bad marketing? But honestly, I do think it does come down to bad media literacy. Even toy movies for kids have deeper messages like the Lego Movie and Toy Story. So why do you think the Barbie movie is going to be a frivolous romp for your child? But I guess these same people have the deeper messages of the Lego Movie and Toy Story fly over their heads as well. I knew real people in real life who were comparing going to seeing the Barbie movie with going to see the Mario movie, which was actually for children and was really childish and that I did see and that I didn't like, but that's for another day. But going back to the marketing of this film, there were kind of sexual jokes in the trailer that clearly were for teens and adults, not your 5-year-olds. So I do think that this is media illiteracy. And I get that the movie marketing, can suck sometimes. Movie trailers are misleading a lot of the times. But Barbie's marketing and trailer and promo were all really good and really expensive. And I do think, according to what I've read, true to the feeling and themes of the film. So no, I don't think that the Barbie movie was for children, but honestly, I find it really puzzling as to why so many adults thought that. Unless they didn't do any reading up on the film beforehand, look at the rating, watch the trailer, I just don't get it. On the other hand, I'm not surprised, nor do I expect, the Barbie movie, a big budget, big studio movie made to appeal to the masses, to get that deep into feminist ideology, and I'm not, particularly upset about that. And it doesn't make me upset that the Barbie movie isn't this feminist masterpiece. The fact that a movie with a feminist message did so well, though, is a good thing overall, though that wasn't the message the studio took away from the film's success. The lesson that they took away instead was that adults are nostalgia babies and that they can make anything profitable as long as there's some sort of nostalgic tie-in, we are ready to buy in. The popularity of Barbie proved Dwight correct yet again that nostalgia is humanity's greatest weakness, second to the neck. And Barbie Discourse brought this up in their cynical Barbie review by saying that they're afraid we're all just adult babies who will eat up anything as long as it has a bit of nostalgia sprinkled on top. Like Mattel announced that there's going to be a dark and gritty Barney movie, a Rock'em Sock'em Robots movie, a Polly Pocket movie, and an Uno card movie, and they might actually do well because we're all just children at the end of the day and are easily taken in by nostalgic properties as long as they're quote-unquote artsy. Even if they're still made by big studios and are taking up resources that could be given to original stories that aren't attached to an existing IP and used to sell merch that will end up in a landfill anyway. As long as they have a shred of artistic integrity, they'll be heralded as bringing back real cinema. And honestly, to me, that is frightening. The Barbie trend came and went so quickly. Like, people just bought their pink outfit for the movie, took their photo, and now, at least I feel, like it's cringe to wear pink, and it's cringe to do fan art of Barbie because the trend is over. And honestly, to me, the hype and marketing was bigger than the movie, and that's not a surprise considering the marketing budget was bigger than the budget to make the film. Now it seems as though we're already looking for the next trend because Barbie's hype wasn't sustainable. It was used to get butts in seats and it worked really well. You know, people wanted to take their photos freely promoting the thing, and then afterwards discarded it. When a film is more about the marketing than the actual film, I feel like the love for the movie and the timeliness of it and the potential of it gets wasted because it's just a trend, it's just a fad. When Barbie is more than that, she's timeless. But because the movie is so corporate and dependent on marketing, it couldn't be more than what it was, which to me is really sad. But I'm sure when I watch the movie, I'll still cry. But I also understand the cynicism of it all, and I do think we should be critical of it. I get the let's just enjoy things argument too, but not when we're in the middle of a writers and actors strike, and not when studios are hungrily trying to replace real people with AI. And that isn't even AI, it's just stolen work. And honestly, I don't even think the studios learned the wrong lesson from Barbie because we as the audience proved them right. And I'm sure the Barney movie and the Uno movie will be really deep and meaningful, but should movies like those get millions of dollars backing them, or replace movies about the human experience that are separate from corporations? I've been watching a lot of old Disney Pixar movies like Cars and Ratatouille and WALL-E, and I think it's really interesting because they're kind of like the opposite of these corporate movies in that they're made to eventually make and sell toys. They're not based on already existing toys. And even though they are like, corporate works in the end, they're still like really original and really amazing, and I'm glad that they exist. The first 30 minutes of WALL-E alone is like a cinematic masterpiece. And even Cars, which a lot of people mock as like Pixar's corporate downfall, has its really good moments and is a really good movie and has some really interesting world building. The studios are forced to make people fall in love with these films and then afterwards incentivize us to buy the merch. And I think that's a really important distinction. They don't depend on an already existing love for Lightning McQueen, WALL-E, and Eve. The movies are convincing because the story is there and the artistic quality is there. They make us fall in love with them because they're well written, and I don't think that the same thing can be said for Barney or a movie about Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but watch them prove me wrong, I guess. As for Barbie being banned in some countries because the governments think that it's part of the quote-unquote gay agenda, I see a lot of people online saying, what movie did they see? But honestly, the movie, at least visually, is pretty campy, and I think that's awesome. I really like the visuals. I like that the men have to learn a lesson too, and that they can also wear equally out their costumes as the women. Maybe the female friendship plot was too radical for some bigots. I don't really know. Barbie has been called woke by a lot of right-wingers, and honestly, good. I'm glad that the right can't claim Barbie. This was a fear that I brought up in my own Barbie video that I made before the movie came out because, Barbie and Ken really do embody like white cis het personhood, I guess, and they can be so easily appropriated by the right as like, these beacons of white hope. But I'm glad that Gerwig kind of realized that and made, the film as flamboyant as possible to prove to these, bigots that, they can't take Barbie. And though I'm happy about that, what I'm not happy about is that apparently there's like a smallpox joke in the movie, and also Barbie apparently colonized the Six Grandfathers Mountain as it's known by the Lakota, but as colonizers we know it as Mount Rushmore. That was definitely an oversight and not okay. Barbie is a colonizer. And I guess the last take that I'll talk about here is Barbie and existentialism. I remember reading a few interviews where Margot Robbie said that Gerwig came to her or wrote her a letter about how Barbie and Ken to her is kind of like the creation myth reversed with Adam and Eve. For example, Barbie came before Ken and therefore Eve came before Adam, and how rare that is to see like a woman being created before the man. And that's why the Barbies in Barbie Land live in a matriarchy and the Kens are just Ken. And later in the film, they fall from grace and enter the real world in sin as Ken tries to bring the patriarchy to Barbie Land and also have, their innocence robbed in that Barbie learns about sexism in the real world and has to question her entire existence. What was she made for? What is her purpose? Who is she? And honestly, I really can't wait to see that in the film. And writing the script and reading this now, I'm getting so hyped for it again. But I do wonder what a Barbie movie would look like if we just took Barbie Land at face value and just let the story play out without the real world and this meta commentary about Barbie and, the real world. I really didn't like how in the Mario Brothers movie, for example, that there was the real world and then the video game world. The fantasy world is already more interesting to me personally, and also having the real world in the movie makes the world building a lot more complicated than it needs to be. But anyway, that's it for this one. I'm going to wrap it up here. I just thought I'd vent about, how exhausting the Barbie discourse is and how a lot of people's fighting online kind of turned me off to wanting to watch it altogether. But I am really genuinely interested in it, especially when it comes to the creation myth. I'm curious to see how that plays out in the film. But I do think that the hype of it kind of made me a little bit sick of it, which is sad because, I thought that the hype would end in a bigger bang than just a fizzle, because it's just been a month since the movie came out and it's already over as a trend. There was so much hype, but I feel maybe people's expectations weren't met or didn't jive with what they saw. Or maybe mainstream audiences just weren't prepared for what they saw because they saw it as a movie for kids and they just didn't try to get the deeper meaning. Or maybe they thought it was too political and, just didn't want to talk about it at all. I don't really know. So yeah, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know what you thought or think about the Barbie hype and the movie down below. I'd love to read your comments. All right. Bye.